Hey everyone. So let me introduce myself. My name's David Perez. I've been working in the animation industry for the last 10 years, both TV and feature. Here's a little resume of some of the shows I've worked on, some of the major studios I've worked with. All the shows I've worked on, they're not all here, NDAs. So many of other studios too. Many of other studios. I don't even think that many other studios as well. All right. So what we're going to be talking about are the main three things that I believe that I've seen over time that are needed in a portfolio are concept art, poses, and turns. Now, we're going to be talking about those in separate videos. So hang tight, but we're going to be doing turns today. Eventually, we will go through poses, concept art. We'll talk about line of action, and we'll talk about tapers and variation and proportions and silhouettes. We'll go through a lot of things. Also, just probably some random drawing as well. But this is from Primos with Disney TVA, and we also have some poses from Invincible Fight Girl, Warner Brothers, and some concept art with DreamWorks for Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. We can start to dissect and see how things were done. Now, they're all very different styles, but that's the thing. There's no such thing as advanced. There's only a deeper understanding of the basics. It took me a long time to understand that, but I'm going to try to help get that point across. Now, my drawings are going to be rude, they're going to be rough, but I'll keep everything very truthful, but I'm hoping to make them clear. So, we look at these designs and they can get very complicated very quick because you might look at the curve in the ear and how do you track that going across, even the little tiny his little whiskers on his chin, or let's just focus on this pocket. You got the pens with that little mark from the ink, his laces on the shoes, everything could just get complicated fast if you're looking at the details, but we don't want to look at just the details. So we're going to break things down very simply because this is what you need to focus on, especially with a turn. We have the same idea for these simple shapes. We have the big torso area. We have a line to help separate that torso and the pelvis. Legs, simple shapes for feet, same thing. It's across the board, even with the cat. That's what's happening underneath. The clothes are just put on, but we will eventually talk about clothes. The clothes aren't as important as your base. You need solid shapes and you need some good lines of action and angles. You need some acting because we're doing character design. Bob here, he's very even. That's why his name's Bob. B, got the B at the end, B in the front. He's very symmetrical because we have a lot of symmetry going on here as well. So, got here to here to here. These very even proportions. We will talk about proportions eventually, but we're not pushing those things. So, and what I mean by proportions is like his waist isn't up there, so that way you get like a good, you know, maybe third going on, because that's how things are naturally in life. We tend to, in our own brains, we tend to even things out. Why? I don't know, but it just brings us comfort, I guess. But it happens a lot. But we're not trying to do that. We're gonna try to keep Bob really easy to draw. Now the thing is with Bob, is he's boring. He's very straight up and down. Bob boring. So what do? How can we get some life into Bob? And this is something I see in portfolios all the time. I'm gonna lighten this layer. There you go. Something even as simple as that now gives your design some life. He's not just straight up and down like a lollipop. There's something going on. Now he's looking a little hunched, He's like, so you want to find those little tiny things, and the way you get that is by adding, angles. You go at different angles. Try avoiding this straight up and down, or you try getting in S curves. Get some angles in. You could even bring his head down. We're bringing this P-shaped body here. Now, I don't recommend it, but I mean, but if it's with the character, I was gonna say, put his hands in his pockets. Now, I'm not saying to always hide your character's hands because that's something you see people do all the time who are scared to draw hands. You can tell real quick, but this feels right. He feels like he's just slouching, hanging out, even on the 3/4. Maybe his chest is out instead, like this. So we'll go at this angle. Maybe his legs back farther, like this. Maybe his neck is going the opposite way. His arms coming down forward. Now he looks not too confident anymore. He looks kind of dorky, right? Bring it down a little lower here. We'll curve this line in a little so it looks like he's hunched over as well. The front view is a pain to get some volume in because it's very flat. The same with profiles as well, but we'll talk about that eventually. His feet are angled sideways. See, and then as you go on, then you can start getting in, expressions, which we will talk about at some point. And then if you don't like something, you already have your base. So you can go back in, and this is the part no one has to see. So you don't need to make everything perfect right away. That's the great thing about drawing rough. You're exploring, you're trying to find something that might be new to you. So maybe I want that angle all the way through from his head all the way up to down to his body, excuse me. So try to get some S curves and angles into your work, especially in your turns. So that way you can start to bring some life to your characters. So that way they're not just standing straight up and down. So give it a shot, keep it rough, stay loose, but be clear. So subscribe wherever that button is, somewhere around. I don't know. I don't know where it is. But if you want, stay tuned and we'll be going through more of these tips and no tricks. All right. Thank you. If you want to learn more about character design, I made a simple, easy to read how to guide about the fundamentals and basics. The link is located below and also in my bio.